Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Kangana Ranaut finally set foot in Mumbai this afternoon amidst a heated war of words between her and the Maharashtra government, especially Sanjay Raut, the spokesperson of the Shiv Sena. And in her criticism of the manner in which the Sushant Singh Rajput case has been managed by the Mumbai police, this was how she was targeted. This was an open bid by the state government to target and intimidate Kangana Ranaut. At 10 a.m. yesterday, the civic body served Kangana a notice saying that a part of her office would be demolished as it was allegedly illegal. And within exactly 24 hours, they carried out their threat and the demolition. This despite the fact that the High Court's order was still pending after Kangana had moved court with a plea to stay the demolition. In fact, the Maharashtra government seems to have gone all out to ensure that the structure was demolished even before the court's order and even before Kangana could even land in Mumbai. And this is something that the Bombay High Court has agreed with. It's not just me who's saying this. Let me in fact put out for you the exact portion of the High Court order. But before we go to that High Court order, I also want to show you the sequence of events as they started earlier this morning.
Given 24 hours time to submit the approval, the permissions and the sanction.
Full-fledged demolition of the Kangana's office over here is going on.
The first floor boundary wall that you see is being currently demolished.
Kangana Ranaut is sitting on the first seat of the aircraft and we have just landed in Mumbai.
Kangana Ranaut here! I hope we are putting out those visuals for our viewers, Kangana. So there you see that was Kangana Ranaut's vehicle just entered her residence in a car.
She was given
The demolition visuals already there on your screen even before Kangana could arrive. And this is not what I'm saying. This is the Bombay High Court. And let me in fact put out to you the exact portion of the court order in which they've slammed the actions of the BMC today. Clear beyond doubt, unauthorized work did not come up overnight. The Bombay High Court also says authorities appear to have woken up overnight from their slumber. Notice issued to the petitioner, that too when she is out of the state. Despite written request, no further time granted to the petitioner Kangana Ranaut. Demolition does not appear to be bona fide and it smacks of malafide. If the BMC would act with similar swiftness regarding numerous unauthorized constructions in this city would be a completely different place to live in. In fact, now the BMC has even moved court seeking not just demolition of the office but also a part of Kangana Ranaut's residence in Khar. But Kangana is standing strong. She has absolutely refused to bow down to any intimidation attempt that's being made by the Maharashtra government. Listen in to Kangana Ranaut.
उद्धव ठाकरे, तुझे क्या लगता है कि तूने फिल्म माफिया के साथ मिलके मेरा घर तोड़ के मुझसे बहुत बड़ा बदला लिया है? आज मेरा घर टूटा है, कल तेरा घमंड टूटेगा। ये वक्त का पहिया है, याद रखना। हमेशा एक जैसा नहीं रहता। और मुझे लगता है कि तुमने मुझ पर बहुत बड़ा एहसान किया है, क्योंकि मुझे पता तो था कि कश्मीरी पंडितों पे क्या बीती होगी। आज मैंने महसूस किया है और आज मैं इस देश को वचन देती हूँ कि मैं सिर्फ अयोध्या पे ही नहीं, कश्मीर पे भी एक फिल्म बनाऊंगी और अपने देशवासियों को जगाऊंगी, क्योंकि मुझे पता था हमारे साथ होगा तो होगा, लेकिन मेरे साथ हुआ है, इसका कोई मतलब है, इसके कोई मायने हैं। और उद्धव ठाकरे, ये जो क्रूरता और ये जो आतंक है, अच्छा हुआ ये मेरे साथ हुआ, क्योंकि इसके कुछ मायने हैं। जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र।
So the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight is just one. Is the hasty demolition of Kangana's office an open vendetta by the state government? That's the question and the debate. Maha Sarkar versus Kangana. The debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And as I introduce my panelists tonight, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the BJP, Vivek Agnihotri, Director, Suhail Seth, columnist, Sundar Balakrishnan, political analyst, Ria D'Souza, member of the AIPC, Deepa Ishwar, activist, Ashutosh Mishra, senior journalist, and tonight, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, scientist, professor, what have you. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, I want to ask you as a citizen of India, is this how governments behave? Because if this had happened by any other government, if this has been done by the BJP government at the center, this whole country would have been up in arms, calling this Hitler Raj, calling this emergency, calling this a complete death of freedom of speech or expression. Tonight, is there a little bit of silence in the other part of Mumbai, in the other part of India that you're hearing?
Yeah, good evening, Navika. You know, you're absolutely right. And Kangana is facing the brute force of the state and refusing to buckle. And it is a sight to behold. These vengeful politicians, you know, like the smell of fascism in the morning, may let loose their terriers on those who stand in the way. But this is a war they cannot win, because while the meek may crumble, the strong will stand up to them. And while the meek may inherit the earth, it is always the strong who inherit our hearts. And that is why an army of men can never defeat a one-man army. Now, I'm always for following the law. And it doesn't matter if thousands of illegal structures still stand while mine is demolished, because unequal application of law can never be an excuse to violate that law. But this case reeks of vengeance. It not only is a contempt of the court order that stayed all demolitions till 30th September, it demolishes the very foundation of natural justice. Audi alteram partem. Listen to the other side. But how can you listen to the other side if justice is all Greek and Latin to you? First you violate the 2018 HC stay order. Then you violate the BMC Act section 351. Then you violate 2018 Vishwanath versus BMT HC judgment stipulating a minimum 15 days notice. Then finally you violate the 2020 Al Fatah versus BMC HC order. Yes, any illegality must be demolished. But here you have only demolished justice. Please give me 30 seconds. Navika, human spirit is not covered with tarpaulin that you can snatch it off or set fire to it. It is not made of bricks and mortar that you can run it over with bulldozers. It survives because it is that intangible that is greater than the sum of your parts. Some realize this on their deathbed, others much before, and when they do, they become invincible. They don't care if they are on their own or if the world stands with them. And Mumbai may or may not feel like POK tonight, but it is a Colosseum now. And Lady Justice's sword may have rusted, but Mani Karnika's isn't. It catches the sun and points to the sky, so fight on. The entire nation stands with you. Yes, there'd be more armies of the night coming to hound you. There'd be more midnight knocks. There'd be more abuses and slander and sleepless nights, and no clock hands to measure this darkness. But remember, Kangana, the darkest hour is just before dawn.
It's the darkest hour. I want to ask you, Mr. Ashutosh Mishra, is this an attack on a structure built of bricks and mortar? Or was this an attack on the human spirit, as Dr. Anand Ranganathan says? I want to ask you, the Adarsh building structure against which the Supreme Court has passed a verdict saying that this is illegal, built out of corruption money and built out of a land that was allocated to war widows of the Kargil victims. I want to ask you today, Ashutosh, with all humility, आदर्श की बिल्डिंग तो वहीं खड़ी है, कंगना रनौत की बिल्डिंग गिर गई, जो चोरी से और आर्मी मैन की मरने के बाद उनकी फैमिलीज को दिया गया था, जिसके ऊपर कांग्रेस के कई नेताओं ने जबरन वहां पर अपना हुकूमत जमा ली थी। वो बिल्डिंग वहीं खड़ी है, लेकिन गिराई किसकी बिल्डिंग गई? कंगना रनौत की। आई वॉन्ट टू आस्क यू, द कोर्ट हैज सेड दिस वॉज मैलिफाइड. What will you say tonight to defend that action?
No, what the court says we'll find out tomorrow also, the action that the court takes. But today what has happened is that seems to have got the goat of BJP and its chamchas is the fact that despite having the blessings of Modi and Shah, people are being put in their place by the local government. It's as simple as that. And with Fadnavis and company making little headway, it seems BJP is now banking on foul-mouthed trolls to carry forward its mudslinging campaign against Uddhav Thackeray, which is very obvious. And I just heard the word fascist. So one of the characteristics of fascist is that you use silly names to abuse your enemies. And that's what we are seeing on TV day in and day out. It's exactly what's happening. And as for all this talk about government machinery being misused,
आशुतोष मिश्रा जी, आशुतोष मिश्रा जी, आप किसी रैली के मैदान के स्टेज में बैठे हैं या टीवी में बैठे हैं? आप भी तो टीवी पे बैठे हुए हैं, तो जो आप कह रहे हैं वो भी फैसिज्म है. What you're displaying is also fascism, because you're sitting in a television debate and abusing the television where you express yourself freely, and it is up to the country, it is up to the viewers to judge whether this is sensible conversation or it is fascism that is being spewed by you. And let me get in Vivek Agnihotri. विवेक अग्निहोत्री जिस प्लेटफॉर्म पे बैठते हैं, जिस मीडियम का रोज उपचार करते हैं नरेंद्र मोदी को गाली देने के लिए, और आज क्या कह रहे हैं? We are showing that anybody who supports Modi will be shown their place. I want to ask you, Vivek Agnihotri, so बात ultimately ना ड्रग्स की है, ना स्टैंडिंग अप फॉर विमेन की है, ना फाइट अगेंस्ट पेट्रियार्की की है, ना गलत और सही की है. ये है बंटवारा पॉलिटिक्स का. डू यू एग्री?
I don't agree. I mean, I vouch for it, and they are not saying it or they are not threatening, they are doing it. I told you on your program, they sent police, the top-notch police officers to my house when the Mumbai was under curfew in the month of April, much before Sushant Singh Rajput's case and the politics thereof. They sent them 2 hours. They were standing with my wife outside my building and threatening me, intimidating me, and they deleted all my Twitter account, which is accounts for demolishing my intellectual work. And today they have demolished in physicality the office of Kangana. Please let me just make quick points. I'll tell you what needs to be demolished actually. Every single illegal bungalow in Bandra needs to be demolished, even if it belongs to the chief minister and his naughty son. Naughty I am saying because that's the jargon they have introduced. Even if it is matroshi, and even if 1 inch of matroshi is illegal, the chief minister should set the example. What needs to be demolished is the narco-terrorism, Pak-sponsored narco-terrorism link between the naughty government and the Bollywood mafia. What needs to be demolished is the misuse of police to cover up. What needs to be demolished is the threat over journalists in Maharashtra. More than 20 journalists have been booked. Their offices have been ransacked by Shiv Sena goons when they criticize the inefficient COVID management of this government. What needs to be demolished is the PR management of these B-grade starlets who are coming and becoming brand ambassadors of this government. What I can go on and on, but if I make the list, like Jagjeet Singh saying, बात निकलेगी तो बहुत दूर तलक जाएगी, और ये बात हो सकता है अंटार्कटिका पहुंच जाए, and who knows that many baby penguins who live there illegally will also need to be demolished. Today they have not just broken some walls, they have broken the faith of the people of Maharashtra like me, who feel secured because the government is there, but I feel so insecure because they are coming after me every single day. They keep sending me threatening messages to the police, and I want to say on record, I feel extremely insecure in the naughty Maharashtra government.
Well, I want to ask all those who uphold freedom of expression and the death of dissent. I want to ask Mr. Sundar Balakrishnan, today, did you not see the death of dissent in Mumbai, downtown Mumbai? Did you not see the death of dissent? Is this about a free country? Is this about a free expression where Kangana is not allowed to express herself, but everybody else can come out and abuse the Prime Minister of this country and call it freedom of expression? Why, sir? Why such different standards, especially in the face of the court verdict? And the court verdict has said that the BMC first files a caveat. When the caveat is filed, it says that it expects the case to come up urgently, and when the case comes up, there are no instructions. There are no lawyers, advocates present in the court. The Mumbai commissioner is being called. He doesn't take the calls. I'm not saying it. This has been written in the judgment by the honorable judges of the Bombay High Court. There is no availability of the commissioner when the court calls in. Aam aadmi ki to baat hi kya hai? I want to ask you, malafide. Can the state be malafide towards its subjects, whether the subjects appreciate them or not? Mr. Sundar Balakrishnan.
Yeah, Navika, you mentioned about Adarsh housing scam. You know very well there was one person, I don't want to name him, and the same person has come into BJP. So just forget about it, okay? So everybody is involved there in Adarsh housing scam, okay? Now, second thing, you're talking of I am saying that if Shiv Sena feels or BMC feels that the structure is illegal, they got every right to demolish it, and one cannot question the timing. Now you're talking of timing. Now timing, I want to ask you, now how come the Modi government, BJP, uses CBI, ED at the time of election for their personal benefit? And what happens to that particular case of the CBI, ED? You take the recent example of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. There are several. Now the moment election comes, these agencies are thrown on the ground. Why
don't you have any word to say for the Bombay High Court's observation, sir? The malified action of the state.
I will tell you. I will let that come in the court tomorrow. I am not the right person
आज बोलेगी कोर्ट तो सुनना नहीं है, कल के इंतजार में रहना. Well, callers are calling in. Ashwini calling in from Bolangir and Mr. C.H. Gupta from New Delhi. Good evening, Mr. Ashwini. What do you think?
Yes,
do you think this action by the BMC was malified?
Yes, definitely malified. It is clearly so. We can see what is going on in Maharashtra. That is purely undemocratic action the government is doing. How can they do such type of things against women?
Okay.
It is purely undemocratic.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ashwini ji. Mr. C.H. Gupta, good evening, sir. Do you think this demolition reeks of the state killing dissent?
Yes, of course. It's very well visible that there is a political agenda in which BMC is missing out 99% of its work, such as cleaning up, having a better health and hygiene in the slums, which is required in the COVID timing, then cleaning up the potholes, and before allowing any unauthorized construction, checking everything. So it is basically concealing 99% of its misuse of the offices in BMC, and there is no transparency. I think the High Court has been very soft-pedaled the BMC. If I was the High Court, I would have clearly requested them, what about the 99% of the work and what about the corruption in BMC?
Well, good point, Mr. C.H. Gupta, good point. And let me get in Sohail Seth. Sohail Seth, this is the public's voice.
I think, Navika, just to paraphrase what some of the panelists have said, Mr. Krishnan made a point about the courts and all. There are three things that have happened, to my mind, which are wrong. Number one, you have a Bombay High Court order which was violated by a government body. I can understand if three goons had violated it, you can give it a pass. It was violated by a government body which is supposed to know the law. The second, is in politics and in public life, it is the perception that often shapes the attitude and the beliefs of people. No one, I mean, you have to be rank stupid or in a cave if you believe the action against Kangana Ranaut's office today was not political. So you've established vendetta, even though you may not have had, and no one is going to believe you. No one is going to say, oh, BMC did it out of its own willingness. The BMC has been known to violate every norm of decency and ethics. So for them to suddenly have a change of heart on the morning of September 9 is a bit hard to believe. The third, history has been witness where attacks have taken place of this magnitude, where the state has hit out at an individual, the sympathy lies with the individual. So willy-nilly, I think it is the politics of the intellectually innocent that has played out today. Every bit has been off the textbook, as it were. I feel it's not about whether it's Kangana Ranaut or who. The point is, it smacks of vengeance, it smacks of vendetta, it smacks of an intolerance of dissent. You know, Narayan Murthy of Infosys famously said, you can disagree as long as you're not disagreeable. Governments can't come across goonishly. The Shiv Sena must realize that they are no longer the goons of Bombay. They are also the ruling party. In contrast, look at the behavior of Sharad Pawar. He's part of that Gathbandhan, and he has said very clearly that this action was unwarranted. So, I think what the government needs to do is...
But then Kangana Ranaut has just tweeted, I don't know if it's a fact, but if we can pull out the latest tweet that's been put out by Miss Kangana Ranaut, and she says that the building belongs to Sharad Pawar. And she's purchased it from the partner of Sharad Pawar, and he comes out and says this is not correct. I don't know what the facts are. I am just going by the tweet that has been put out by Miss Kangana Ranaut.
1 minute. Since Anand Ranganathan started the debate peppered with literature, let me quote Alice in Wonderland, and it only gets curiouser and furiouser. The truth is hidden somewhere between the leaves. We really don't know. But as I'm saying, it is not about the BJP, the Congress, or the Shiv Sena. It is about the brutal might of the state against a hapless individual who believed that the courts of law would provide her succor in the form of justice. To my mind, it is not about Kangana or Uddhav Thackeray. It is a violation, a gross violation by the government of Maharashtra through its BMC of the Bombay High Court. What today they've done is they've subjugated a citizen and mocked the court. That is what should worry them the most. It's not about the individual. It's not about the demolition. And mark my words, today, from hereafter, there will be every house in Bombay will be put under a scanner by warring political opponents. And they will each try and demolish each other's home, which, by the way, may be a blessing for Bombay. We'll have more parks.
Well, Ria D'Souza, do you stand for this kind of subjugation of common citizens?
No, I don't. Today, what happened was not supposed to be happening. It was unwanted. But
excellent.
Nonetheless, what Kangana has been doing is not the right thing. Yeah, and I must say, it's completely a political drama. It's nothing but just a political drama, and she's backed by huge political powers. And that is the reason this is happening. Everyone knows that BJP is just out there to attack our government right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think by demolishing a house, Sudhanshu Trivedi ji, BJP Kangana ko support karegi to uska ghar tootega. That's the warning that's come out.
That is absolutely wrong what you said. Absolutely wrong.
What else are you saying? Did I get it wrong? Anand Ranganathan, did I get it wrong? Let's get neutral. Let's get neutral views on this. You think I'm getting it wrong? Anand Ranganathan, is that what she said, or didn't she say that?
Navika, if you want me to talk, let me talk first, yeah? You did not pick up, did you not hear me say that I do not agree to whatever happened today? It was unwanted. Didn't you hear me say that? Or is that got unheard for you?
Madam, but you said that she is getting this behavior because she's politically backed by the BJP. Why are you only repeating the first part of your statement? Why not the second part?
Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Please tell me, how is she having the audacity to intimidate people without a backing?
Oh.
We have
All right. I'm taking views of all my panelists on this being done to Kangana, because what she's saying is not right politically and therefore she deserves this. Anand Ranganathan, go first.
No.
No, Navika, obviously you are absolutely right. You read this lady's not only the lines but also read between the lines. So obviously you are correct. But can I just please point out that we might be digressing from the main topic. And I never thought there would be a fourth law of thermodynamics, but there is. And it is that all the Ashutoshes of the world have the same level of logic and intelligence. He just quoted opinion. I dealt with pure facts. And Ashutosh ji, I respect you, but can I please say
Ashutosh
that
is not on the panel, sir. I know you're missing him. Okay,
now,
Ashutosh Mishra, he's left into. I thought you were looking for your Jon Snow.
No. I just said that all the Ashutoshes are one and the same. That's the fourth law of thermodynamics.
I don't think Kangana is the only actor who has been having this demolition case. I think.
Are you Ashutosh? Are you Miss Ashutosh?
I've gone through these things. Haven't they? Have you seen them make so much of drama?
Now, 1 second. Navika, can I please come back?
1 minute. Ashutosh has just lost his... the connection to Ashutosh is just lost. So I'm coming back to you, Anand Ranganathan and Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi. But first a caller, Shwapan calling in from Mumbai. Good evening, Mr. Shwapan. You think this was uncalled for against Kangana, even if there were parts of her office that were illegally constructed?
Hi, Navika. I truly think this is condemnable, and I think that they are not so fooled that they would be doing this just in this time. It is clearly being done so that if later on in Ria's case, if something comes up against the government, they can very well say that we have done this to Kangana, so they are witch hunting us, and then they are doing this thing in the return. So they are making a ground so that in other case, if their name comes, there is a clear-cut thing that they can point out.
All right. Conspiracy theories coming up here as well. Thank you, Shwapan. We also have another caller. Our next caller tonight is Manish from Bengaluru. Good evening, Manish. What do you think?
Good evening, Navika ji. मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि जो गवर्नमेंट को करना चाहिए था, क्लीन अप करना चाहिए था बॉलीवुड में ड्रग माफिया लोगों को, या स्टेट में जो क्लीन अप करना चाहिए था, वो दूसरी लोग कर रहे हैं, मतलब नॉर्मल जैसे करना कंगना जी जैसे कर रहे हैं. तो इसके जो गवर्नमेंट का रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है वो नॉर्मल लोग चालू कर रहे हैं. तो गवर्नमेंट से क्या एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे लोगों कि ये एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि गवर्नमेंट उसको बढ़वा दे?
अच्छा, तो इसलिए गवर्नमेंट के पास फ्री टाइम है, इसलिए डेमोलिशन करा रही है.
हाँ, तो वही है ना. तो इट इज हाई टाइम दैट दिस इज नॉट ए गवर्नमेंट. वी हैव, आई थिंक दिस इज हाई टाइम टू हैव ए प्रेसिडेंट रूल. अदरवाइज अभी क्या हो रहा है ना, वो कोई लॉ एंड ऑर्डर का ना कोई हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर का ये लोग रेस्पेक्ट करते हैं ना.
Manish wants a president rule in Maharashtra. Well, I'm not saying it. It is really the people of India who are saying this. Well, Ashutosh is back with us. Go for it, Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Ashutosh ji mentioned and talked about just his opinion, where I gave facts and I'm going to repeat those facts, and I would appreciate if Ashutosh ji would be able to rebut and say that any one of those facts are not true. You see, when you in matters of law, you have to only state facts, not opinion. So here goes. Number one, the 2018 HC stay order on demolition of Kangana's property, the stay order was violated. Number two, the BMC Act section 351 that says that if the illegal construction is in the process of being made, that section was violated. Then you violated the 2018 Vishwanath versus BMC HC judgment, where para 4 and para 22 talked about audi alteram partem, listen to the other side, and gave a minimum stipulation of 15 days. And lastly, you violated the Al-Fatah 2020 versus BMC, Al-Fatah versus BMC HC order that said that you cannot have any demolition before September 30th. Now, can you rebut me on any of these 4 facts? If you can't, at least say that yes, you might be wrong and the other person might be right. That's all I'm saying. And I've already said this.
Mr. Ashutosh, respond to Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Straight question to you.
Navika, just 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds. Yeah.
Boliye na, Anand ji. Complete.
Yeah, let me just quickly add that I quickly add that I'm always for following the law. And I've already said that non-application or unequal application of a law is certainly not an excuse for violating that law. So you cannot say, why the hell are you demolishing only my illegal construction when all the other illegal constructions in Delhi or Mumbai you are not. That is not an excuse. I've already said that.
Ashutosh ji.
So the rest of the facts I had spoken earlier also, and I don't think Anand listened to it. The other facts will be, the legal facts will be decided by the court of law. But the fact here, why these BJP supporters
I don't understand why do you have to wait for tomorrow for the court of law? This in the High Court of the Judicature of Bombay Ordinary Original Civil Jurisdiction writ petition, and the judges have already said today. And Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, that is where the malafide comes in. All of them are saying kal court kya kahegi, uske liye intezar kariye. Arey aaj jo court ने कहा है उस पर तो कोई जवाब है ही नहीं किसी का.
It's not a court case and the arguments let's be very clear about that.
It's very clear what the court has said. Anand Ranganathan has categorically quoted several laws. Now we would like to quote procedure. Wherever the demolition drive is being conducted by any municipal corporation, there is a demolition drive and the notification of demolition drive. Like if vaccination is being done, the vaccination drive is. It doesn't happen that suddenly one day a doctor will go and straight away go to one house and do the vaccination for one person. No, it's the order is issued that from this day onward, with the vaccination drive, from this onward there will be any demolition drive. Is there any order of the demolition drive? And how many demolitions been done in the previous day and how many demolition was done today? So if there is no drive,
you are accepting that this is an illegal construction.
And in the last
you are accepting that this is an illegal construction which needs to be demolished.
I have not spoken in between anybody. Mr. Ashutosh, please listen. It is 52,000. And how many actions been taken by BMC? 5,000. And now, coming to the other aspect, it is not the question of the just technically demolition of a building or not. It is the conceptual question of the inappropriate and immaturity of running the government. Whether during the COVID time, a person who is having a lot of money goes for Sar Sapata and the officer who has given the permission after him there. And in Palghar, संतों की हत्या होती है और ये पहले ही इंफर कर दिया जाता है सर ये तो.
अरे सर आप ये बताइए अभी बताइए कंगना रनौत के बारे में बात करिए ना.
सुनिए.
And lockdown 4 has started.
It is not the
and you don't want any agency to take action against people who have broken the law in the name of COVID now. You have never shied away.
And so
I mean the country has been shouting.
Let me ask Miss Deepa Ishwar. I want to ask you. There have been people, Kangana is being targeted because she called or she referred in a response of her not being allowed to come into Mumbai. She said, "Is this POK ke mujhe rok rahe ho?" Now let me tell you, Shashi Tharoor in the past has said BJP is paving the way for creation of a Hindu Pakistan. Rahul Gandhi has said India heading towards a situation that led to creation of ISIS. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Congress MP, said Kashmir has been turned into a concentration camp. Manishankar Iyer said Modi and Shah have created Palestine on our northern border. Shiv Sena ने इनको तो कुछ नहीं किया, कंगना के पीछे पड़े हुए.
Kangana this debate a couple of years into it. someone who, Kangana ji, was not allowed to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not able to hear you very clearly. But why don't you take that question, Ria?
Tell me again. Hello?
Yes, go on.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question, Navika?
Ma'am, I said Shashi Tharoor, Manishankar Iyer, Rahul Gandhi have called names. ISIS, Hindu Pakistan.
I would like to know. That's why I asked you to repeat. Right? I asked you to repeat it. Did they call you Pakistan? Did they call us Pakistan? Did they mention Pakistan?
Yes, they did. BJP is paving the way for creation of a Hindu Pakistan, they said.
Hindu Pakistan creating BJP. They're not saying that India is. They're saying that BJP is creating. They're blaming BJP for it. They're not saying that our country is Pakistan.
Wow.
They didn't say that. Don't put words in people's mouths. Do not create different situations.
So then you agree with Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who said Kashmir has been turned into a concentration camp? Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't.
So would you tell the Shiv Sena to go and attack Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary? Why attack Kangana Ranaut?
Because Kangana is openly called as Pakistan.
She said
not just before, Navika, not just before, it's even now today, she has mentioned the word Pakistan. Yeah? तो अगर
विवेक अग्निहोत्री अगर आप पाकिस्तान कहें तो आपने जुर्म किया है, अगर आप हिंदू पाकिस्तान कहें तो जुर्म नहीं है, और अगर आप कंसंट्रेशन कैंप कहें कश्मीर को तो that's also all right. And if Rahul Gandhi says India is being turned into ISIS, that's also fine. India can be turned into ISIS, no problems.
See, there can be 1 million interpretation to this, but as I see it, see, UK is part of India. It's illegally being occupied by people who do not believe in the law. Now, today, look at the situation. Sanjay Raut, who is the agenda machine of this naughty government, the father and son duo, has Mr. Raut, he has gone on, Raja Ram Raut, he has gone on record to say, मैं उनका quotation बताता हूँ आपको, उन्होंने कहा, we are such people that भाड़ में गया कानून, we do not abide by the law, हमें इससे कोई मतलब नहीं है, we'll do what is in our minds and in our hearts. It's quote unquote he said. आप अभी बात कर रही थी high court order की, they don't care about all these things. He is the same man who said doctors do not know anything. I'm sorry to repeat this in front of Anand Raghunathan, who I respect as one of the great scientists, but that is what Mr. Sanjay Raja Ram Raut has said. The doctors do not know anything. I never take medicines from doctor. I always take them from compound because compounder knows better than doctor. This is the government today which has immorally, unethically, illegally occupied the administration and governance of Maharashtra, which feels like, if you have seen in temperature, it's something called feels like, it definitely feels like how it feels to people in Indian Kashmir, which is illegally, unethically, immorally occupied by our people who don't believe in our law of land.
Vivek, you know, get back to the topic with Kangana. Why are you deviating the topic here and there? Haven't you forgotten what she has said?
Suhail said wants to come in. Suhail said wants to come in. Suhail said wants to come in. Suhail said.
I have three suggestions. One minute, dear. I have three suggestions for some panelists coming onto your show. Can you mute her?
Go back to Pakistan.
Okay, can I, Navika, I have three suggestions. First is run a ticker tape on Indian history for some panelists so that, you know, we don't kind of miss the woods for the trees. The second is, I think what Times Now has done, to my mind, has raised a fundamental issue. The issue is not about Kangana Ranaut. She is symbolic and epitomizes the brute force of a government that wishes to go rogue against any citizen. Today it's Kangana, tomorrow it could be anyone. The third, which is the most important point, and Mr. Ashutosh referred to it but didn't make any sense, which is it's not about the facts in the court and facts outside. Facts have only one residence, that is the residence of the intelligent and the logical. What Anand quoted were facts. You either dispute those facts, whether in a court of law or in the court of public opinion, or you don't. Finally, The point I'm making, which I've made in the beginning, and I want to reiterate is, Navika, it was a bad move on the part of the government of Maharashtra. What they've fallen in everyone's esteem is not about the move itself, but how politically, intellectually innocent they are. That they failed to read the tea leaves of public empathy, of public sympathy, and public sentiment. That should worry them more than anything else. The fact that two of their government partners...
Well, Sanjay is joining in. Two more callers calling in. Sanjay from Jaipur, Ashish from Pune. Good evening, Sanjay. Good evening, Ashish. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, Ashish? Lower the volume of your television set.
Yes. Yeah. Navika, hi. This is Ashish from Pune.
Hi, sir. Go on.
Yes. My question is, will this 24 hours of demolition procedure done by PMC will be applied to the other illegal properties?
Sorry, losing your voice. Ria, go on. Respond to Suhail Seth.
Yes, sir. I mean, I want to ask you one thing. You say, I agree to your point that the demolition was unwanted. It was not right. It was illegal. Agreed. But do you think what Kangana said and Kangana is doing is right?
So let me respond to that. Ria,
do you agree to her POK statement? Because this is exactly what she did in the past. It was not the government who initiated this whole thing. I don't really think. Let me complete.
Are you asking him a thesis or a question? Ria, you've asked your question. Let him respond.
I don't think government has got that much time to go behind. सिर्फ एक इंसान के पीछे पड़ना तो गवर्नमेंट का टाइम इतना नहीं.
You're behaving like George Bernard Shaw. Your preface is longer than your play. Let me respond. You asked what Kangana did. Was it right or wrong? I don't know. I don't sit as a judge in the Bombay High Court, but I know what the BMC did was malified. Because the Bombay High Court says that. Hear me out. A, B. Two rights don't make a wrong. You've been to a great school, college. You would know two rights don't make a wrong. And the last thing is, what about on a subject like this is totally out of place. The fact, Ria, is, was this demolition smacking of vendetta or vengeance? The answer is yes. You, as an intelligent, sensible person, said it at the beginning of your comments that you didn't condone it. You didn't agree with it. Third, it's not about whether the past, history is a country with no citizens. I can then take you back to 1827, someone said something about someone else. That's irrelevant. The point is, as intelligent people, we are discussing whether the state government has more important things like COVID-19, like potholes, like roads, like infrastructure.
Well, the question that's at the bottom of this whole thing is, why is the Maha Sarkar so rattled? What is it that is making them take these decisions which clearly are against public sentiment? And that's the question we will come back to after this very short break.
At 9.
Welcome back, and joining us this evening is also lawyer of Kangana Ranaut, Rizwan Siddiqui. And Rizwan Siddiqui, I want to ask you just one question. We understand, and this is what we are being told, and that's the big breaking news coming in. We understand notices were also served to some of the neighboring plots in the area in Pali Hill, bungalow number 6. There is some Sunil Goyal, architect Rajiv Seni, some Sushma Kothari, and a beauty parlor by the name of Fiza. All of these people have also got notices along with Kangana Ranaut. Can you confirm this to us?
Well, I'm not exactly aware who all got notices, but I'm sure that there were others also who got notices, because the municipal department personnel, they went there and they threatened the neighbors, saying that you have all come into this only because of Kangana. And they've also specifically and categorically mentioned to others that you have to socially boycott Kangana, otherwise all of you guys would be facing trouble. Okay, so this is nothing but a criminal.
Did they say this, that you have to socially boycott Kangana?
And this came to me not yesterday or day before yesterday, it came to me on Saturday itself. This particular news came to me by Saturday. I was already aware that they are trying to threaten and intimidate Kangana. So therefore, I wanted to bring certain more facts before everybody. Let me start with dates. On the 5th, when they entered my client's premises, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Loud?
Yes, loud and clear.
On the 5th, when they entered the premises of my client, the residential premises, I'm again repeating, it's a residential premises. It is not a commercial premises as most of the people are reporting it. It's a residential bungalow. Okay, Kangana was only supposed to meet some people from the film fraternity for her story settings, but as a professional activity, which you are allowed to do in 1/3 of your property, so it's not an illegal activity at all. But it's a residential property, and the society is so strict that they would not allow any commercial activities to be done in that society. So the society itself would have taken objections if there was anything commercial to be done in their property. So I've clarified that part. Now coming back to the 5th, when they entered the premises of my client, the first thing that they did is they criminally trespassed on the property because Kangana has not been in Bombay for the last 6 months. She has been in Himachal and everybody knows about it. The government of Maharashtra knows about it, including the municipal department, who is a part of the government there. So what happens is on the 5th, when they enter the premises, the security guards were threatened. The security guards were threatened and they forced themselves in the premises, which is an illegal act. No municipal officer, as a matter of fact, even police are supposed to follow a protocol when they have to search somebody's house. A search warrant is required to be attested by a magistrate. So in the name of performing your duties, you cannot enter into anybody's house. The Indian Penal Code section 166 is very clear that if anybody, including anybody meaning the government servant, if a government servant enters your property illegally by force, you can punish the government servant under section 166. It calls for 1 year punishment, and the government servant can be punished for misusing his dominant position and for misusing his authority. Secondly, what happens is that even after entering, which they entered illegally, my client, Rangoli, as a matter of fact, not Kangana, Rangoli also told them very categorically, you cannot enter into my property. I'm coming back on the 9th. Please wait for me to come. We will address whatever issues you have. They did not bother to listen to him. They re-entered the premises once again with many more people on the 7th. On the 7th, they re-enter. They do not follow a procedure of law. They do not follow a protocol which is required to be followed otherwise. And they claim that Kangana's house was under renovation, and they also claimed that work was going on, and therefore the stop work notice was issued. The fact of the matter is that the work was completed 1.5 years back. The people engaged in that particular interior work have been paid 1.5 years back. The entire house has been covered very well. The windows have been covered because it is not in use. You can see papers being covered, the windows are covered, the sofas were all covered with plastic, the furniture was covered with plastic because we did not want to dirty anything during the COVID because it was not in use.
So, Ria D'Souza, I want to ask you straight away, the lawyer, Mr. Rizwan Siddiqui, has told us, socially boycott Kangana. Now, is that the job of any part of the government to do? Do you condone that?
Navika, there's much more. There's much more shocking things coming.
Okay,
Can I just
continue?
You all have to listen to the whole thing. Now, what happens is that on the 7th, when they serve a notice, which is called a stop work notice, where they say within 24 hours, stop work. What work are they talking about? There is no workman in the premises. There is nothing. Everything is covered. Everything is sealed. And they ask us to stop work. I respond to that notice, which was dated 7th, which was pasted on the property on the 8th. And I respond to that notice within 5 hours, forget 24 hours. And I tell them that there are illegalities, you are misusing a dominant position, there are malefides which can be seen very clearly. I pinpoint everything. Today morning by 10:35, they faced a response to my reply and they say that they have rejected my reply. And 10:35, they paste that in her property. And by 10 o'clock, we have about 70 to 80 people with bulldozers and with everything ready to raise the property down, to bring the property down. So that means even pasting of the response was nothing but an afterthought. And within 30 minutes, the best thing is that the gentleman who filed a caveat, who serves me an email and who's by email he serves me a caveat, he serves me my rejection to my notice. I respond to the same email telling him that I've already moved the court and 12:30 the matter is going to come up. I also tweet about it because I know municipal is going to be playing fraud. And I send my man to the municipal department who stands there for 2 hours. Municipal fails, refuses, neglects to take.
For the lawyer.
Let me just finish. Let me just finish. Let me just finish. The facts of the case everybody needs to know. So what happens is that they refuse to accept any notice. Even email communication which was done, which is on record, then I personally take a U-turn. I come back to the house because my client's relatives call me up saying that the demolition is continuing. So I rush back to the property. I try to enter. I tell them personally also after the emails that there is a matter which has already been filed. The writ is going to come up for hearing at 12:30. Please stop this illegal work. They do not bother to listen to me. And then I have to address the court sitting in the car just outside the bungalow. I go on a VC, conferencing, video conferencing, and I address the court. I bring all these matters to the court. And
this is straight out of some Bollywood plot. I wonder who's in Bollywood, the state government or the actor herself?
Very quickly, 2 points to make. One for the lawyer, Mr. Rizwan Siddiqui. Mr. Rizwan Siddiqui, despite everyone knowing about it, couldn't you have simply stated in your response to BMC, that the High Court had stayed all demolitions before September 30th? Had you done that, maybe the BMC would have been scared enough to not come and demolish it. So I want to know, why didn't you state just that fact?
See, I'll tell you what, that was not a blanket permission first and foremost for all the demolition activities. Those were certain matters which were being placed before the court, and that order that you're talking about referring to is for those kind of cases which are already before the court. Our matter would not flatly fall under that particular order, and even otherwise, the municipal was determined to take law in their hands. So forget the High Court order. Their own protocol does not allow them to do what they are doing.
Absolutely. Rizwan Siddiqui puts the facts in front of us. We also bring to you the fact that 5 other houses, and we are being told Manish Malhotra, well-known dress designer, also stays somewhere close by, also gets a notice, but none of them have faced demolition, but Kangana has. That's the fact that's coming out, and that's why the Bombay High Court today has said in its remarks, which are scathing, and they have said that this seems like an action that has been born out of malafide, which means the intentions in this action were wrong, because even the Bombay High Court knows that there is a procedure that needs to go through. There is a 15-day notice period if a demolition needs to take place. When is the last time that demolitions took place in this manner? If Kangana's building flouts norms, the BMC has every right to go after her. But due process of law has to be followed. The court hasn't taken this lightly, and the BMC has to file a reply by 3 p.m. tomorrow. We'll wait to watch what the court says, but as of now, it's the might of the state versus a citizen. Who's playing as per a plot? We don't know, but this certainly is intimidation, vendetta, and this is vengeful act. I want to ask all those who stand up for women's rights, where are they today? Silence? Why? Because Kangana's outspokenness bothers you? Is that it? Well, different strokes for different folks. But viewers, what do you think? Write to us, because this is Maha Sarkar versus Kangana, and this is going to continue in court tomorrow. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on this big debate. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Good night from me.